Assalamu alaikum dear students. A warm welcome to our English video class. Today's session we are going to learn a new poem. Let's begin our today's session with a beautiful poem, Lines Written in Early Spring by William Wordsworth. So we shall begin with this famous quote, "The best portion of a good man's life are his little nameless unremembered acts of kindness and love." So what's the meaning of this quote? Life is very short. So, shower your unconditional love and kindness to your fellow beings is the meaning of this quote. So, coming to a short intro of William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth is one of the major literary figures of all times in the history of English literature. He is a British poet born on April 7, 1770 in England. He belonged to Romantic age in literature. So Romantic age here refers to love for nature. The poets belonging to Romantic age used to write about nature. He worked with Samuel Taylor Coleridge and the Preface to Lyrical Ballads, which was published in the year 1798. In 1843, he became England's poet laureate. That is, he became an eminent poet, famous poet. Some of his important works are The Prelude, it's a beautiful poem, Tintern Abbey, The Sparrow's Nest, The Solitary Reaper, etc. Lines Written in Early Spring is in the form of a ballad and which consists of 6 quatrains. So it is a ballad which consists of 6 quatrains. So what is a ballad? Ballad is a short narrative poem. A quatrain is a poem which consisting of 4 lines in each stanza. So how many quatrains are there in this poem? 6 quatrains. What is a quatrain? That is 4 lines in each stanza, which is called as quatrain. What is a ballad? It is a narrative poem. That is, it is narrated, said by one person. So the poem is narrated by William Wordsworth. So in this poem, William Wordsworth expresses his appreciation of the beautiful nature and the attitude of man towards nature and how he treats nature. So this poem is nothing but the appreciation of the beauty of nature and how man reacts to nature and how he is cruel. Now let's enjoy the poem Lines Written in Early Spring, written by William Wordsworth. And this poem is a beautiful poem written by William Wordsworth, and this poem is about nature. Here, the poem narrates the feelings of a poet towards nature and the lesson he has learnt from it. What is the main point? This poem which narrates the feelings of Wordsworth towards nature and the lesson he has learned from nature. Now coming to the setting of the poem, which is in a small woodland grove. So, what is a grove? Grove is a forested area or a small wood. Wood here refers to forest area, that is a place full of trees, which is called as a grove. So, this is the setting of the poem. So, what inspired him to write this poem? When William Wordsworth was walking near the village of Alford. Alford is a small town in England. He was inspired or motivated to write this poem. So when William Wordsworth was walking near the village, he was inspired to write this poem, and the name of the village is Alford. Coming to the first stanza, I heard 1,000 blended notes, while in a grove I sat reclined, in that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. So let's see the explanation for the first 4 lines. Here, the poet, who is the poet? William Wordsworth. He sits under a tree and thinks about nature and its beauty. So what he's doing? He's sitting under a tree and he's thinking about nature and its beauty. And he is sitting in a reclined position. That is, he is resting. Reclined position is nothing but a resting position. And I said before that a setting of the poem is a forested area. That is a place full of trees. Suddenly he heard 1,000 mixed musical notes of nature. So he was able to hear 1,000 different kinds of musical notes of nature. Different kinds of sound he could hear from nature. So blended here refers to mixed notes, sounds. Reclined, resting position. Sat, it is a old English and which is for sat. So sat in old English is called as sat. So what he tells, in that pleasant feelings, that is in the sweet mood, that is he is very happy. At the same time, that happiness which is occupied by the sad thoughts. So he is very happy to see the nature. At the same time, his mind is filled with the sad thoughts. So here, sad thoughts refers to the changes that society has undergone around him. So what is sad thoughts? Sad thoughts here refers to the societal change with respect to nature. So what society has done, what the people, what the common man has done to the nature, that is called as the sad thoughts. So coming to the second stanza, to her fair works did nature link the human soul that through me ran, and much it grieved my heart to think what man has made of man. Let's see the explanation of this poem. The poet appreciates the nature. He calls nature as God, which has the abilities of linking human soul to herself. So what is the meaning? The poet here appreciates the nature and he calls nature as God. So the nature which has the ability, that is God created nature, ability to link human soul and nature. So nature's soul, which is not different from that of humanity. So nature too has a soul and the human beings too has a soul. The poet feels very sad while thinking about how cruelly man has separated himself from nature. That is, God has created nature for human beings, but what we people have done to nature, we people are destroying nature. So the link between nature and human soul is cut off. So what is the second stanza? The poet appreciates the nature and nature is a gift given by God. So, the nature which has the ability to link a human soul to herself refers to nature. So, nature's soul and the humanity's soul are one and the same. So, the poet feels very sad that man has destroyed nature, and he talks about his cruelty, how he has separated himself from nature. Let's move on to the next stanza. Through primrose tufts in the sweet bower, the periwinkle trailed its reeds, and it's my fate that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. Let's see the explanation. In this stanza, the poet talks about different varieties of flowers. So first he talks about primrose. Primrose is a yellow colored flowers, and whereas periwinkle is a blue colored flowers. So he is sitting in a shady place, and he could see different varieties of flowers, and it is very pleasant to look at different varieties of flowers. And the periwinkle flowers, which is in the form of the circles, and the poet has the faith that every flower enjoys the air that it breathes. So the flowers are thankful to nature. So in this stanza, he talks about different varieties of flowers. What are the flowers? Primrose, periwinkle. Actually, periwinkle is a plant which produces blue colored flowers. So the poet has a faith that every flower enjoys air that it breathes. They are thankful to nature. So coming to the explanation, once again, so he talks about different varieties of the flowers, and he is sitting in a shady place where he could see the varieties of flowers, and the primrose in bunches, and the periwinkle which is in the form of a circle. And the poet has a faith that every flower which enjoys the air it breathes, and it is thankful to nature. So what is tufts? Tufts is bunches. Bower is a shady place under trees. What is trailed? That is the plant which is spread over the surface of the ground. It is called as tufts. That is the plant which is spread over the surface of the ground. And reeds is a arrangement of flowers in the shape of a circle. What is reeds? It's an arrangement of flowers in the shape of a circle. We shall move on to the next stanza. The birds around me hopped and played. Their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed the thrill of pleasure. So we shall see the explanation. In this stanza, the poet talks about the birds. The birds seem to be very happy and playing. That is, bird is happily enjoying jumping here and there and flying. So he enjoys the sight of the birds. So he cannot measure their thoughts. So the poet cannot measure the bird's thought. That is, what the bird is thinking, the poet doesn't know. But the bird does all the movements out of joy. Though the poet cannot understand the language, he strongly believes that their movements are out of pleasure and joy. So what he is telling in this stanza? In this stanza, the poet talks about the birds. The birds seem to be very happily enjoying the nature, flying here and there and playing. So he enjoys the sight of the birds, and the poet says that he cannot measure the thoughts of the birds, but he is very sure that all the movements which the bird does is only out of joy and pleasure. The poet cannot understand the bird's language, but he strongly believes that the bird is very happy in nature. The birds are happy in nature. Let's see the next stanza. The budding chicks spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. So let's see the explanation. Here, the growing small leafless branches which spread out to absorb air which is sweet and light. So the budding here refers to, that is, growing or developing. Budding here refers to growing or developing. Twigs here refers to small leafless branches. So the young plants which spread out their branches to absorb air which is sweet and light. And the poet, he feels very happy to see all these things, that is the birds enjoying and the twigs which spread out their branches to get the air which is fresh and light. Next, thrill is excitement, pleasure is joy. Let's see the last stanza. The last stanza ends with a sad note. If this belief from heaven be sent, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man has made of man? So what is this stanza about? This stanza, the poet ends with a sad thought. And he asks a question whether it is true that nature is full of pleasure. Then his reason for sad thoughts, which is also true. It's of course true that nature is full of pleasure, but we people forget to utilize nature. The poet feels sad because God created nature for man. So, nature is a gift from God, but what man has made of man? He has destroyed nature. Instead of enjoying nature, he is very cruel to nature. That is, he has exploited nature. And he highlights that in this technological modern world, that is in modern life, people spend less time in nature. They run behind money and they are machinized. They have become machines. They have become slaves to the money. But nature is God's creature which gives us pleasure always. And nature can do wonders for our mental, physical and emotional health. But man has forgotten everything. He has destroyed, and he is the reason for everything, global warming. And he has destroyed nature by cutting the trees, building industries. So, the destruction of nature, man is the only main reason behind it. Now let's discuss figures of speech in this poem. First is simile. What is simile? Simile is nothing but comparing two things of different nature. So what is simile? Comparing two things of different nature. She ran like the wind. So she and wind are two different things you are comparing, and it is introduced by the words such as like or as. Example, the snow was as thick as a blanket. The snow and the blanket are two different things. She was as light as a feather. You are acting like a baby. He felt like a bug under a microscope. His temper was as explosive as a volcano. So what is a simile? A simile is comparing two things of different nature, and it is introduced by the words such as like or as. So in the statement, in the sentence, when you see like or as, then it is a simile. So two different things are compared. So she was light as a feather. She and feather are two different things it is compared. Next, coming to personification. Personification is nothing but giving life to inanimate objects, that is, giving human qualities to animals, objects, or non-living things. So, what is personification? Giving life to animals, objects, or non-living things, which is called as personification. So, what is personification? Giving life to inanimate objects, that is, lifeless objects. So, giving human traits or characteristics to something that is not human. Example, the car danced across the icy road. So, the car is a inanimate thing. So, you are giving life, that is personified. The angry clouds marched across the sky. The angry clouds, it is personified. The stars in the clear night winked at me. So the tulips nodded their heads in the breeze. The tulips, which is personified. So you are giving life to objects and non-living things. Here the car, angry clouds, stars, tulips, all these things are personified. So what is personification? When you are giving life to animals, objects, and non-living things, then it is called personification, or you are personifying those things. Next is aphorism. It is a statement which speaks of universal truth, that is the statement which is accepted worldwide, that is called aphorism. Example, lost time is never found again. So it is said by Benjamin Franklin, and this statement which cannot be denied, it is accepted by everybody. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and this statement which is also universally accepted truth. So what is aphorism? It is a general statement about truth. Weak people revenge, strong people forgive, intelligent people ignore is the best example of aphorism. So it is a brief statement which talks about the truth which is universally accepted by people worldwide. What is aphorism? A brief, that is a short statement, and it is a truthful statement which is accepted by everybody, that is called as aphorism. Next, coming to onomatopoeia. So we all know that is onomatopoeia, it is a word which imitates or suggests the source of sound that it makes, that is the imitation of the sounds it represents, which is called as onomatopoeia. So onomatopoeia is nothing but the imitation of the sound. Example, splash, boom, honk, neigh, boom, clap, quack, meow, all these words, so which imitates the sound, which is called as onomatopoeia. So in this poem, what man has made of man is aphorism. I said it's a general truth that man has destroyed nature. So it is a aphorism. What man has made of man is a general truth, that is man has destroyed the beautiful nature gifted by God. So aphorism. Onomatopoeia, I heard 1,000 blended notes. So the music, so 1,000 blended, that is mixed musical notes. So it reflects the sound, so it is called as onomatopoeia. So blending is mixing notes, here refers to the music. So the poet could hear 1,000 mixed music. Next, personification, to her fair works did nature link. So here nature is personified as human being. So that is nature is spoken and given human attributes. So it is called as personification. Coming to the assignment part of the poem, what is the poem about? What is blended notes? What is the setting of the poem? Where did the poet sit? What is sweet bower? What are reeds? Name the flowers mentioned in the poem. Why does the poet feel sad? So dear students, it is a beautiful poem written by William Wordsworth. So kindly take some initiative and watch the poem and answer the questions. Thank you, students. We shall meet in the next session.